All right, everyone. I like to give fair and balanced coverage of politics, so when Biden does something right, I am actually going to give him credit for it. Now, this doesn't mean it's not a 0 out of 10 presidency, because, I mean, let's face it, it is. But he's made a third good decision. The first good decision was talking about the weatherization of our power grid and burying power lines, cable lines, things like that. This was a good on paper but never done in practice idea, which I suspected would be the case, actually. It never really made it into most of the infrastructural bill that Joe Biden did pass. And so, it didn't really pan out. But it was a good idea. I was glad that he mentioned it. It should be done. I'm hoping that Trump will get to it, actually. Probably be a little bit more effective, by the way, at actually getting that through. Although the congressional Republicans will balk at the price, probably, so we'll see what happens with that particular idea. My hometown of Woodstock, Vermont, for example, you're not going to see any power lines. You're not going to see any cables anywhere. They don't exist. The Rockefellers put them under the under the pavement, and as a result, power outages and shit like that are much less frequent in Woodstock. So it was a good idea, it just didn't pan out. The second was when Joe Biden stabbed Kamala in the back. And he did this on purpose. You can look at him when the press, after Kamala loses, was asking him, oh, what do you think about Kamala Harris's loss? And he just turns around and he has a shit-eating grin on his face. You just know. So that was the second good decision that he made, and basically he saved the nation from a Kamala Harris presidency. Although I suspect that even if he hadn't acted out against her, she probably still would have lost. But it seems like he was actively trying. He seems to be more friendly with Donald Trump than with Kamala Harris at this point. She's basically disappeared. Thank goodness. Good riddance. Number 3, though, is this latest decision that he made with Nippon. Actually, a Japanese company was trying to take over U.S. steel. This would have disenfranchised untold numbers of U.S. workers, probably driven prices up, given a foreign country access to critical resources that we need. It's not like, hey, a foreign company is buying into the mango market or something like that. Something that's not necessary. Steel is kind of important, I would think. I actually support this decision and give credit where credit's due. He has finally made a binding decision that's actually good for the United States. I mean, he's doing it literally a week before he leaves office, but he did nix the deal and sign an executive order saying this can't happen. I support this, actually. Biden made the right call on this. Which is, I mean, hell is frozen over. I mean, if you look outside, you'd think everything was frozen over. I'm in Vermont, so, let that stand as it may. Now, Joe Biden, though, actually made a rational decision, which means he was probably not the one who was the arbiter of that decision to begin with, but we're going to give him credit anyway because the buck stops here and he's the president and all of this bullshit. He was selected, not elected, but he's still in the White House. So we're going to give credit where credit is due. Yeah, Biden nixing the Nippon U.S. steel deal actually makes sense. He did something rational. He did something sensible. Oh my God. So see, there is always a redeeming quality to every person. Although, I don't know about Pol Pot. He seems to have been regretful towards the end of his days, but I think he was just being sullen. Other than him and Albert Fish and a handful of other people, everyone has some positive qualities and makes some positive decisions. This is one of Biden's. Again, he's had exactly 3 over the course of a 4-year presidency, so that's not necessarily saying that much. But hey, it's the right thing to do. If Nippon had taken over U.S. Steel, okay, a Japanese firm now owns an enormous proportion of all the steel in the United States. We're not adversarial towards Japan. Hell, I love the Japanese. I can't wait to go to Tokyo someday. But you don't need to own a significant proportion of U.S. steel. It's just not necessary. It makes no sense. It's almost like a microcosm of the TPP when you think about it. Well, would you like it if a U.S. firm moved into Japan and took over the sushi market, for example? You probably would block the deal. you would think that that was bad. I mean, literally for national security at that point. Oh my God, we lose our sushi rights and, we're basically fucked. The Americans are going to ruin it. They're going to start deep frying the sushi or something like that. And they probably would. Oh God. Did I just invent deep fried sushi? I'm sure that somebody else has done it before. I've never seen anything about it. I'm hoping that it never exists. Sushi is good enough as it is. Leave it alone. And U.S. Steel should remain in the United States. That particular strategic asset, by the way, along with a few others, is of exceptional military importance. Having iron, steel, and so forth for your military is relatively important. You have to build a lot of tanks and stuff like that. Aircraft carriers and so forth. You don't necessarily want the supply to be governed by a foreign entity or by a cohort of a foreign entity. It's sort of like with TikTok. TikTok's parent company ByteDance, of course, is Chinese. TikTok is generally US based, but the fact is that the parent company is still Chinese. It would be about the same. You'd have a subsidiary effectively in the United States governing a significant proportion of the steel supply that would be run by a Japanese parent company, by Nippon. That's not acceptable. It doesn't matter whether it's a friendly or adversarial nation, by the way. So I actually support Biden for once. I mean, again, hell has frozen over. If you looked at the weather outside, you would probably agree with me. That's about all. Peace out.